Today I want to talk about emergency funds and savings. This is a really interesting topic because, in fact, let me ask you a question. What is your emergency fund supposed to be? Okay. What if you go to financial professionals right now, what will they tell you you need to have in savings? You need to have blank to blank months worth of expenses, right, covered, as far as like an emergency fund. What is the answer? 3 to 6 months, right? I think that is a 100% flawed strategy, okay? 100% flawed, and I'll tell you why here in a sec. 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, save, okay? I think that's a dead philosophy. At one time, it made perfect sense. In fact, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, full disclosure, I would have told you that, right? Because that's the conventional wisdom. And 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Why do I think that is dead? Why do I think that saving money is dead? It's because we live in a high inflationary environment. Okay, the U.S. dollar, our currency, is being devalued rapidly. Okay. That's just a fact. I mean, you can look that up. You can look at inflation. You can look at what's the CPI. By the way, the CPI is a lie. All right, that is not a measure of true inflation. It is not a true measure of the devaluing of the currency. But it is what it is. I mean, this is the means that we have to operate and function. So I'm not down on the dollar at all. I don't, it's just a fact though that it's being devalued. So I think 3 to 6 months is way too much. Why? Because of inflation. Okay, because of the devaluing of the currency. So, what does an emergency fund for me look like? I have an emergency fund. I do, and I believe in emergency funds, and I think they're important. But it's much smaller, much smaller, because that money is just being devalued. If you have 3 to 6 months, think about that. What is that? What's that amount? Let's just say somebody has, they determine that $5,000 a month is their, monthly expenses. 3 to 6 months, what is that? That's $15,000 to $30,000. What, you're gonna have $25,000 sitting in a money market account, getting nothing in return except for lowering its purchasing power in a short period of time? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so much smaller. I do believe in an emergency fund, but a much smaller one. It's up to you to determine how much. And here's what I would say. And 10 years ago, I would have completely said something different. But here's where I'm at. Okay, so a small emergency fund, $1,000, $3,000, $5,000. Depending on your situation, somewhere in there. And then if you have access to credit, that's now your emergency fund. I'm not saying I'm a fan of credit cards and debt like that. I'm not. But instead of your money being devalued, that you have some cash, right? Whether it's in a money market account or whatever. And you would have access to credit that will be that gap. I think that's the way you have to go now, right? Even though I would have disagreed with that, 10 years ago. Right? 10 years ago, I wanted, I was basically, no credit cards ever, right? And I don't think using credit cards is a good idea because it's high interest against you. Okay, so having a much smaller emergency fund and having access to capital, access to credit to be that bigger stopgap. I think that's just the way that we have to go in today's high inflationary environment. Okay, so that's what I think. I think the 3 to 6 months is dead. It's been dead. But now it should be obvious that it's dead, right? It's been dead for a long time, honestly. I mean, if you had that much, you're much better at deploying that money in investments. Stuff that's gonna at least keep up with inflation, if not exceed it, okay? So there you go. 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, dead, right? Small emergency fund with access to capital, I think is a much better way to go as far as your emergency fund is concerned. All right, hey, like this video. Let me know what you think. If you have some other ideas on that, I'd love to hear them. And let me know about some of the topics that you're interested in.